A somberer touch was soon to be added to his already depressed feelings, for in the last days of the old century Washington had died, and the news was slowly drifting toward him in his far southern retreat. His admiration for Washington had been boundless. Two men, one in the temporal and the other in the spiritual realm, had seemed to him ideal. These were Washington and Wesley. I am disposed to lose sight of all but Washington. Matchless man, he wrote. This was one loyal subject of King George, whose conscience would not permit him to take a provincial oath of conformity. But this also was the man whose conscience, whose faith, were compelled to respond at last to the demands of right and truth. This was indeed the element of absolute greatness in Asbury. Well, absolute's quite overstating it, but he submitted to be led, to follow truth, whether manifested in subjective convictions or in arguments read from the force and facts of life about him. He was seer and hero in one. And now it was that a thought which had shaped itself in his mind a year before deepened into a purpose. This was that, at the coming session of the General Conference, he would surrender the episcopal office into the hands of younger and stronger men. He had even selected and set his heart upon the two men who were to take up his work. And thus it was that he saw the century of Wesley and Washington fade out. And nowadays, we tend not to even have as good of leaders as that, but I mean, the way they treated the natives, whatever, but, well, I mean, not whatever, but, that we look up to the good qualities, the truth about them. And we can just be supportive of that. But there's things we shouldn't support too.